After the incident at the old school, it seems the dark memories still linger in Si-yoon's mind. Every time he closes his eyes, he dreams of those images and then wakes up in the quiet of the night. It happens so often that he had to seek a psychologist, but it seems he still keeps those dreams to himself and refuses to talk about them. In the morning, he drags his withered body step by step, carrying his books to school, exhausted from lack of sleep. His arrival causes a group of kids playing nearby to stop and make way. The reason is that after transferring to this school, rumors spread that he had attacked someone who dared to mess with him. Thus, wherever he goes, no matter how noisy it is, the place suddenly becomes unusually quiet as soon as Si-yoon appears. While he's resting his head on the desk, pondering life, a classmate accidentally bumps into his desk. Si-yoon doesn't say anything, just silently glances at him and then lays his head down again. The other boy is Jun-tae, a well-known errand boy at the school. He goes to each classroom to deliver milk to each of the bullies here, and if he makes a mistake, he gets lightly threatened with a hug. Along with that is a note saying to bring the collected items later. After rushing to meet the morning's deadline, Jun-tae sits down at his desk to check the student list. Looking at the list, he notices a prominent name, Si-yoon, with a note saying transferred last year, do not mess with. Jun-tae then chases after Si-yoon to ask what phone brand he is using. Despite this pointless question, the main character coldly ignores him and walks away. The bullies in some room are sitting with their legs crossed, waiting for their golden meal. After wandering around the school, Jun-tae has collected quite a few new iPhones to hand over to them. Others who didn't meet the KPIs set by the leader were punished by kneeling down. When the leader checked the list, he noticed that Si-yoon's name was missing and threatened to hit Jun-tae. The others took out their phones to record this absurd scene. The leader grabbed the poor boy's shirt and slapped him repeatedly, ending with a final move that tripped him face down on the ground. After the intimidation, the leader ordered Jun-tae to retrieve Si-yoon's phone for him. Bearing his frail body, Jun-tae boldly decided to help the teacher carry the phone-keeping suitcase back to the class. He sat in a corner of the toilet, remorseful over his actions, but still decided to save himself first. After everyone took their phones, Si-yoon looked up and saw his phone was missing. When asked, Jun-tae pretended not to know or remember anything. But with a penetrating gaze, Si-yoon could tell from the shape of his lips that the person in front of her was lying. After that, he turned his back and walked away without further questioning his friend. Jun-tae took the phone he had just obtained, handed it to the leader, and then hurried after the protagonist to apologize. He suggested chipping in to help Si-yoon buy a new phone, thinking that life's mishaps are inevitable. What's inevitable? You think, I don't know, you just want to save your own skin? That's really cowardly. After uttering those final words, Si-yoon left, leaving Jun-tae stunned with the word coward. After losing her phone, Si-yoon also talked to her mother about it, but she didn't blame her at all. Si-yoon is always in a bad mood and can't sleep at night. It's because her close friend Suho is still unconscious in the ICU. Day by day, Si-yoon visits the hospital with a heavy heart to see her friend. She drafts a long message just to apologize to her friend, not knowing when Suho will wake up. Early in the morning, Si-yoon sees the image of Jun-tae being mockingly laughed at by a group of kids. Seeing that scene, she is reminded of past events, and in a moment, she imagines herself attacking and taking down the leader. But it was all in her imagination, and back to reality, Si-yoon doesn't care about anyone at all. Just wanted those jerks in front to get out of the way, so I could get to class. The leader didn't want to make a big deal, so he stepped aside. Si-yoon, head down on the desk, received pastries from Jun-tae as an apology. Si-yoon, still with a cold expression, didn't want to accept the apology gift. Jun-tae could only stand there apologizing since he had no other way. As Si-yoon was leaving, he loudly said that being called a coward made him think a lot. He wanted Si-yoon to teach him how to not feel inferior. Because she was the only one Jun-tae could ask. Do you know Newton's third law? Without an action force, there is no reaction force. After saying that, Si-yoon left, her face calm as she went outside, thinking about something before letting out a long sigh. When Jun-tae got home, he researched what the main character said on Google, and while he was engrossed in searching, the bullies came to find him again. But this time, he resolutely refused to listen. These jerks were all about partying and womanizing. Their loud music made them look like young guys with too much money. When Si-yoon returned, she saw those jerks on a street corner extorting money from some unfortunate rich kids. The leader approached and asked about someone named Sung-ji, then went inside to look for him. Inside, that bastard immediately cowered before a senior from another school. He calmly explained that he needed more time to collect 100 phones by next week. He also told Sung Jae to deal with Park Hoo-min after his suspension is over. Two adults sitting opposite on the other side of the game aisle remarked that these kids were practicing being gangsters and needed a beating to learn. Without hesitation, Sung Jae stood up and repeatedly slammed the guy opposite him into the keyboard. After handling the situation, he smiled amiably and returned to his seat as if nothing had happened. Back to Juntae, the student decided to follow Si-eun's advice. He decided to go to school early and then took all the phones out of the locker. And promptly, with an apologetic note, he visited each classmate's desk and returned their stolen phones. Early in the morning, Si-eun heard the news that Juntae had courageously returned all the stolen phones to the whole school. When he arrived at his desk, he too found an apology note along with his own lost phone. The gang leader, upon hearing this, furiously gathered some underlings and went to Juntae's class to confront him. Juntae remained undaunted, quickly ate a piece of cake, then braced himself for the fight. Immediately, he was kicked fiercely by that scoundrel, flying backwards, followed by a brutal beating while other students cheered on. Watching this scene, Si-eun was reminded of his own past experiences and could no longer hold back. He stepped in and kicked away the chair of that scoundrel. "You're being too noisy. Don't overstep your boundaries." Without saying much, the leader jerked through a punch straight at Si-eun, but his punch was lacking and his kick was excessive. Si-eun remained calm, taking the hits, then stood up. At that moment, in the gang's secret room, Baku's subordinate, the real leader, heard the news and wanted to find the jerk Hyo-man. Because he had a match to compete in, he couldn't get involved in this matter. As soon as he stepped out, a crowd of students gathered to watch the fight. Here, Si-eun kept getting hit repeatedly, but when the decisive punch came, he lightly dodged, causing Hyo-man to overreach and fall on his own. Baku's subordinate, Gatak, stepped in to try to stop this. Hyo-man tried to act tough, but when Gatak lightly kicked him, he quickly quieted down and left silently. Despite Gatak wanting to start a conversation, Si-eun coldly approached to help Juntae say a brief thank you, and then left. Juntae pulled the main character into another room, not wanting to go to the infirmary for fear the teachers would find out. That bastard Hyo-man had been repeatedly reprimanded by teachers, which could make him angry and seek to torment them further. An endless cycle for those without rights in this violence-ridden school. Si-eun asked why he returned the phones. Juntae gently replied it was due to Newton's third law. Every positive action has a positive reaction. While taking out the trash, Gatak overheard news about Si-eun being someone Hyo-man always avoided. They then recounted Si-eun's heroic history after Hyo-man had people investigate in the area where he lived. Once made someone live a miserable life, a manifestation of past violence. Gatak heard these words and thought it was nonsense, but the student added more evidence to support his argument. If Si-eun is so smart, why did he come to this lousy school? The reason is that after that crazy incident, no school dared to accept him. Gatak just remembered the scene from their previous meeting and advised his friends not to speak ill of others behind their backs. Outside, Hyo-man was also listening to what they were saying about him. While they were gossiping, he walked in and asked what Gatak had said. Hyo-man puffed on his cigarette and implied that it must feel pretty bad when someone you protect stabs you in the back, right? When leaving, Juntae hurriedly followed Si-eun to give him some tonics because it helps with sleep. The reason is that he noticed the main character always sleeps in class, so he wanted to use these medicines as a thank you. Si-eun came home to study and was about to take his prescription medicine when he remembered the tonics Juntae gave him and decided to use them. During lunch in the cafeteria, Si-eun shyly thanked Juntae because the tonics were quite effective for him. Juntae joyfully rambled on until Si-eun tactfully reminded him to finish eating before talking. Juntae sat chatting with Si-eun and felt that today was great because it had been a long time since he had a lunch without being bullied. No sooner had he finished speaking than Chow Chow also dropped by, wedging himself between them and smirkingly apologizing to both. Then, pointing towards Gatak, he warned Si-eun to be careful because that guy was plotting to beat him up. To prove his point, Hyo-man went straight to provoke Gatak, saying he wanted to take him down along with someone named Baku, thanks to former school boss Si-eun over there. Si-eun witnessed the scene but didn't care and led Juntae away. Once they split up, Juntae was immediately dragged away by Hyo-man's lackeys to plot something. Meanwhile, Hyo-man, upon seeing Gatak and his friends leave, stormed into the basketball team's locker room, furiously smashing everything and even destroying the team's commemorative photo there. Back in class, Si-eun grew worried not seeing his friend. Unable to reach him by phone and fearing the worst, Hyo-man appeared and told him the place to find him. Indeed, when Si-eun arrived, Juntae was locked in a closet here. Hyo-man immediately used his own strategy and sent his underling to inform Gatak that Si-eun wanted to meet him. Along with that, he added that Hyo-man had collaborated with Si-eun to deal with Gatak and Baku. Unaware of the situation, Gatak went to look for Si-eun and saw her coming out of the club's gym. Despite his calls, Si-eun just gave him a cold look and walked away, while an irate Gatak also arrived at the scene, knowing that it's impossible to talk to someone in anger because they won't listen. Therefore, Si-eun suggested if he wanted to fight, just jump in and do it, and so both of them started fighting fiercely with each other. While they were fighting, Hyo-man brought his underlings to beat up both of them. Gatak couldn't possibly fend off 2 or 3 people targeting him alone. Si-eun wasn't doing much better since Hyo-man had a weapon to overpower him. At the moment that bastard was about to strike a finishing blow on Si-eun, music started playing from afar. The most talked about person, Bakur, finally made his appearance. He said a few words introducing his red hair, then swiftly attacked Hyo-man from a distance. This was also the first encounter between 2 unique individuals. After the leader was knocked unconscious, everyone unanimously decided to flee. Gatak understood the situation and approached Si-eun to apologize. Si-eun didn't hold a grudge and quietly left, a demeanor that excited Bakur as it was his first time seeing a unique individual in this place. Si-eun sat absent-mindedly waiting for the bus, recalling the words Gatak had just said. The hypocrite, perhaps that very comment had agitated him, leading to uncontrollable impulsive actions. Back to the shining star of this troublesome school, Bakun was once again admired by countless classmates. It seemed like the entire school was close friends with this talkative, handsome guy. Everyone, even when witnessing him bullying others, would still seriously engage and socialize with him. Upon entering the class, Gatak was uninterested to speak as the dull-headed Bakun went off to arrange a basketball match with another school. But what's noteworthy here is that the club from that school is notoriously unfair. With Bakun's IQ of 99, it made Gatak question life more than ever. All 4 of them were then taken to the headmaster's office for fighting in the basement the previous day. Si-eun tried to explain, but Baku pulled him by the head to apologize to the teacher. And to make amends, they had to do community service. Outside, seeing Baku's group playing basketball, Juntae further clarified to the protagonist about the hyperactive boy's personality. There's an alliance of notable school leaders who created a real gang. And that scumbag Hyo-man, wanting to recruit members, had found 100 cell phones to earn a protectorate spot from the big brothers there. As for Baku, to keep this school peaceful and uninvolved with those thugs, Baku alone defeated all the members of that rotten gang. None of them were strong enough to beat him. Those who dared to use violence to bully the weak were all stopped by him. On the way home, Si-eun's mother expressed her worries about her son, fearing that his past would repeat itself if he continued to associate with bad friends. Somewhere, Hyo-man was being brutally beaten by a group of soldiers. Afterwards, he was taken inside to meet Baek-jin, the real leader of this fake gang. He asked the leader for more time, and believed that as long as Baku was still at the school, he could not become the top boss. Immediately after, he contacted Song-jae to find a way to eliminate the mentioned Baku. The day of volunteering had arrived, and seeing Baku happily mingling with everyone made Si-eun feel differently about this guy. With his gifted eloquence, handsome looks, and an IQ of 99, Baku boasted to everyone that he had information on most of the female students at the school. Baku made a bet that if someone agrees to have dinner, Gatak will treat everyone. And as Gatak expected, the number you dial cannot be reached. It turns out all the phone numbers Baku got were fake. Seeing this hopeless situation also made Si-eun inadvertently smile. While going to the restroom, Si-eun encountered Song-jae sitting there waiting for him. He immediately took a close-up photo with his phone and warned not to hang out with bad friends. Seeing Si-eun's gaze fixed on him made him uncomfortable, and he kept throwing punches towards the male lead. After sending a gentle and friendly greeting, he left, leaving a message that next time he would tear Si-eun into hundreds of pieces. While Bak was outside with his stomach ache about to go to the restroom, he ran into Song-jae. He then went up to him and said he had just greeted the newcomer, and Bak immediately told him that if he touched him, tomorrow would be his last day. "Aren't you tired of it?" "I'm tired, but I don't see Baek-jin getting tired." After saying that, he quietly left and reminded Bak to try to get along. At the ceremony recognizing outstanding students in front of the whole school, the person who only got one trick question wrong out of 30 in math. And the most unexpected thing was that it was not Baek-jin who stirred up everything. While he was studying hard, illicit money kept flowing into his account due to his wicked schemes. After the class, Baek-jin quietly walked alone and was followed by a group of kids. It's Hyo-man and his gang who, resentful after being kicked out of the association, want to come and settle the score. One might think it's a group surrounding one man, but instead, it's Baek-jin emerging from the shadows to encircle them all. With his incredibly impressive academic record, Hyo-man thought he would be superior. But it's not only by himself. Baek-jin easily defeats them all. Afterwards, he also receives information about a new friend, supposedly weak, from his junior. After the volunteer session ends, Baku invites everyone to eat and offers to treat, but Seun declines due to being busy. The three of them go to a fried chicken restaurant, and indeed Baku treats, but it's more accurate to say his father does. Hearing the story about returning all the phones to everyone makes Baku think the guy in front of him is really cool. They talked about Seun transferring schools, but after a long time together, Juntae feels he's a very kind person. Seun is on his way to the hospital to visit his good friend who has yet to wake up. After eating, Bakuki goes to a corner to call Seun and check if he got home safely. Then casually suggests the young man try dating, as his baby face is what girls like these days. In response to the invitation, Seun coldly replies, "Why should I?" leaving Bakuki feeling like he could live on a mountain for the rest of his life. Sitting in a corner of the hospital, Seun hurriedly writes about his day to send to his friend Seho. Outside the door, Song Jae arrives and looks in with a sinister smile. He then invites Seun to go to another place so as not to wake the friend inside. Following Song Jae, Seun is led to the association's place where the school's social misfits gather together. Entering the room of the leader Baek-jin, he immediately asks to wait a moment as he's finishing a math problem. Seun doesn't waste words and gets straight to the point, saying if they mess with him, it's fine, but if they touch his friend, he'll take them all on. After speaking, he also shares a few life hacks to solve the geometry problem that's troubling Baek-jin. Before leaving, Baek-jin advises both to live harmoniously, saying if water is done, it shouldn't disturb the well. As long as Seun doesn't hang around with Baku anymore, everything will be fine. After sorting out Seun's issue, Baek-jin sends people to disrupt Baku's shop. Not long after, Baku hears that his family's chicken shop is in trouble. His father sold alcohol to minors and was taken to the station. Before those bastards left, one of them said that Baek-jin mentioned he misses you a lot. Then Baek-jin called and arranged to meet tomorrow with a clear time and place. To ensure his friend's safety, even though he didn't want to, Seun still went to the clubroom. He coldly said that he had met Baek-jin, and from now on, they should live as if they don't know each other. Hearing Baek-jin's name, Baku also sensed something was wrong and agreed to Seun's request. Juntae hurriedly ran after him to explain that Baku meant no harm. But in response, Seun's emotionless eyes said, "Juntae, I prefer to be alone." On the way back, Seun encountered a group from another school's gang. But the moment they looked at the photo with us in it and didn't recognize us, they just ignored it, because Baek-jin had ordered not to touch him. Since Bakuv had an appointment with Baek-jin, he split from the group and left early. Sure enough, after being isolated, Song Jae's group immediately attacked him in the tunnel. Gatak quickly dodged the attack, and upon seeing that guy, he immediately remembered the horrific images of being tortured in his past. Gatak then told his friend to run away quickly and that he would stay here alone. Despite his reluctance, Juntae had no choice but to heed the advice and hurriedly ran away. Outside, a very fast and dangerous chase ensued. While hiding, Juntae accidentally overhears that Song Jae wants to find and capture Seun. He hurries to call Baku, but can't get through, then immediately calls and texts Seun asking if she has arrived at the tutoring center yet. Although anxious, he doesn't dare to speak about the trouble he's facing. But while chatting, Seun also hears the bastards chasing Juntae and hurries off to find him. Baku goes alone to the enemy's turf, asks about Baek-jin, but they ignore him. He throws a ball towards them to assert his authority, and demands again where Baek-jin is. Opening the door to his secret room, he finds him still engrossed in solving advanced math problems. Bak immediately went to clear the stack of books and papers on this guy's desk. Here, he also made clear his purpose was to persuade Bak to join the alliance, because he believes that this will be an increasingly thriving business with a wide scale in the future. On average, a family will have 1 to 2 gangsters, and just like that, make a good living. Bak also frankly said that he did not want to get involved because he extremely hates this guy. As soon as he said that, Baek-jin also mentioned his close friend Gatak. Realizing the situation, Bak hurriedly left, but it seemed to take a bit of time to get out of there. The scene shifts to the rooftop where Gatak is struggling in a fight with the nasty Song-ji. "I alone can handle this, Baku-ben. Any of you come at me, and it's one punch too few, one kick too many." While preparing to deal with the other two guys, Baek-jin stepped in and said to let him do it. Baku turned around and frankly shared that "It's not you letting me go. I'm doing you a favor by not beating everyone here." Right after that, he quickly ran to his friend. On this side, it was clear that Gatak was no match for that bastard Song-ji. After taking down Gatak, he even used his phone to capture the moment. Right then, Seun somehow managed to appear just in time. Without a word, weapon in hand, he charged to attack that bastard. But it seemed like he was completely under his control. Just when he was being complacent, Seun grabbed the nearby pot and struck this jerk. As the sand flew, he quickly took the glasses off the guy, removed one side, and stabbed it straight into his leg. Seun thought that with that injury, he would have the upper hand in this fight, but Song-ji seemed entirely stronger than him. At the moment of being beaten to a pulp, it seemed impossible to resist. With a mindset unafraid of pain, Seun used a strong headbutt on the guy's injury, then followed with a series of powerful headbutts that left both collapsing to the ground. Baku quickly arrived to assist, and when he got close, Seun softly muttered, "So, I got into a fight again, sorry." On the volunteer day, Seun had a short conversation with Baku. Seeing Gatak teaching Juntae how to fight against the bad guys. Although being very good at fighting, Baku did not want to teach others to do so. The reason is that Gatak was once a Taekwondo athlete, but got his ligaments torn because of hanging out with him and being attacked by the bad guys. The moment Baku saw his mother crying, he wanted to destroy all the gang that harmed him. It was only later that he realized the hardest part was knowing everything stemmed from himself. Wondering what that feeling was, Seun spoke up that it was guilt, as he also had a friend similar to Baku. Back to reality, Seun slightly woke up and Baku recounted everything that had happened before. He thanked and apologized, making sure that such a thing would not happen again. Hearing this, Seun knew he was planning to fight again to solve the problem. Baku also revealed his relationship with Baek-jin to the main character, saying that they were childhood friends. As soon as Seun mentioned it, Baku quietly called his childhood friend and conceded. Baek-jin personally went to pick up his teammate at the police station and took him to a secret storage place. According to Song Jae, this place is one that Baek-jin hates because it's dirty and he prefers cleanliness. But this is also the place where he executes subordinates who disobey him. At this moment, Baek-jin sternly asked what was said to the police earlier. Song-ji was startled, knowing well that both of them were equally despicable. Thinking that they were in the same boat, he realized this when questioned about it. "If I didn't say that the brawl was for extorting money from his students, I would have been beaten to a pulp right here by this Baek-jin guy." Right after that, Song-ji immediately took a leave of absence, washed his hands of the matter, and went into hiding, hoping not to be found or contacted by him. After that incident, Baek-jin still portrayed himself as a model student, casually walking home alone after school. When he reached the parking lot, two genuine troublemakers were already waiting for him. They wanted to take Baek-jin to meet their boss because he had something he needed. Baek-jin wanted to go alone, but they wanted to use force to control him. After that, this studious young man single-handedly took down both of them easily, and he promised that he would meet their boss himself right after handling his personal matter. In contrast to Baek-jin's gloomy situation, Seun was now getting to know new friends. They sat waiting for her to go to class together. Seun constantly heard whispers right next to her ear. While everyone was having fun, the police called to report that Baku's father had an issue at the station. His face turned cold, and he hurriedly left, claiming he had urgent matters to attend to. Unable to keep calm when falsely accused by the youngsters of selling alcohol, Baku's father acted violently and hit a young person at the station. Upon arriving at the police station and seeing his father lying in a detention room, Baku couldn't hold back his emotions. As soon as he turned on his phone, a message came through inviting him to join the League Alliance. Only then will Baek-jin stop harassing Baku's father and his family. Leaving, seeing the three who had harmed his father made Baku lose his temper and beat them up in a narrow alley. Meanwhile, Baek-jin had been informed by his subordinates, and he instructed them to leave it be, thinking that Baku was doing a good job. CEO Choi went to Baek-jin's business to demonstrate his power. He had just been through some tense encounters, so he was anxious and warned that if he didn't want things to get heated, they shouldn't make him step in. After saying that, he left, hoping Baek-jin would smoothly handle all the work as they had discussed. Arriving home, Seun found his mother waiting since the afternoon with a stern face, telling him to go study abroad immediately. Her worry stemmed from him skipping additional classes and having more injuries on his body. Seun doesn't want to go and even says she hopes her mother would stop caring about her like before. The mother can only cry loudly, thinking that the past events are due to this terrible mother's neglect. Whenever Si-eun feels troubled, she goes to the hospital to write her thoughts and send them to her friend Soho. At school, Si-eun also gets news from the teacher that her mother will be coming to help with the class in the following days. Carrying a heavy heart, Si-eun walks home alone, overhearing some news about Baku. At home, Baku curls up deep in thought about the gossip when his father enters and says all sorts of things. Knowing that his son skipped school again today, he said some rather unpleasant words. After the argument with his father, Baku angrily steps outside alone. Right after that, Baekjin calls and wants Baku to finalize the offer he made because it's been long enough already. Baku went to a bar to meet a guy known as Gorilla. As soon as he got hit by the guy, he immediately retaliated with a punch that knocked him to the ground. Baekjin called and wanted Baku to come to the office to meet him immediately. In her dimly lit room, Si-eun looked at the study abroad application with an apparently empty heart. While deep in thought, the doorbell rang. It was Jun-tae and Gatak who had come to see him. The three of them then played basketball together. Knowing that Si-eun was about to study abroad, they wanted to say goodbye. Gatak encouraged him and told him not to worry. Things will work out. Si-eun then called Baku to ask where he was. Baku no longer had his usual cheerful demeanor. He only ordered a search and be sure that he would no longer be involved with Si-eun. Baku went to Baekjin's base and received a welcome to join from him. The next morning, Si-eun appeared at the airport. While she was dazed, Jun-tae called. He revealed that all three of them knew about their friend Suho being in the hospital. And surely all that was not Si-eun's fault. Hearing those gentle words made Si-eun shed tears. Perhaps all the suffering she had endured for so long had been seen by someone else. But that person was not a relative. At that moment, the protagonist frankly told his mother that he did not want to go abroad, no matter what she said. Si-eun deciding not to study abroad made Gatak and Jun-tae very happy. But besides this, everyone also knew that Baku had sacrificed his frail body to become an underling for the Alliance. Somewhere, Baku was on a mission, and after throwing a few punches, he immediately gained the gang's loud approval. When Baku finished asking, what followed were a few more hits that knocked the guy in front of him unconscious. The delighted onlookers also realized that things were getting out of hand, so they stepped forward to intervene. As soon as the mission was completed, Baekjin also handed Baku a stack of money. This was his pay, and also money to help Baku's father at home pay a fine to the police station. Although knowing that what he was doing now and in the future would be awful for the sake of his family, he still had to take the money and leave with a grim face. The next day, the gang went to Baku's house to inquire about his situation. The father invited everyone in for a drink, but his words about his son weren't kind, even wishing he would leave for good. This made Si-eun indignant, saying that everyone at school cherished Baku, yet at home, he was seen as a problem. Surely, the real issue was the father himself. His words hit the mark, making the old man furious and driving everyone away. To understand the situation better, the group went to find their previous enemy, Hyo-man. There, he told them about the association's operation methods. First was the bowling alley, managed by Baekjin, but in reality, it was just used for money laundering. The owner was a notorious gangster who used the place to launder money. He manipulated the revenue and hired the union to do extra work to fabricate salaries on paper. In addition, these guys mix everything under the sun, from delivery motorcycles, scooters, or basically any vehicle they could see. They change license plates, repaint, modify parts, and then sell them right away on social media with anonymous accounts. Even if reported to the authorities, nothing can be done about them because it's rumored they've manipulated the police department. Si-eun bluntly said that they don't need help when leaving, and Hunta turned back to make a snide remark before going. As they were leaving, Si-eun advised everyone not to do anything for the time being because he already had a plan without resorting to violence. Scene transitioned to Baku, who, after returning home, left his father a stack of money with a note saying, "Please use this." Immediately afterward, Baekjin sent a message about a task that Baku must carry out immediately if he wants to protect his friends and family. Si-eun went alone to the association's base, wanting to meet Baekjin. Two other friends have found the location where they believe Baku is working for these bastards. That night, having received his task, Baku quietly mixed in with the big bike of a stranger. Meanwhile, Gatak was in a corner calling him, but got no reply. Angry and losing his cool, Gatak decided to investigate the place where these bastards were dealing in smuggled bikes. On this side, after a long wait, Siyun still hadn't met Baekjin. After unlocking, Gatak and Juntae were also able to get inside, and they also saw Baku's underwear hanging there. Observing, Juntae realized that the inside contained illegal work documents of those bastards, so the two decided to pry the door to enter. After a long wait, Siyun finally met Baekjin again. Siyun wonders why a model student who even receives a scholarship needs to earn money illegally. And the protagonist realizes that perhaps the only person who understands this perplexing issue is Baku, because Baku is his closest friend and knows everything about him. Baekjin, without a word, shows Siyun a photo of his two friends rummaging through this gang's secret base. Just as Baekjin stops Siyun from going to save his friend, Baku appears. He quickly pulls the protagonist outside. Siyun also reveals that the two friends are at the motorcycle area and Baekjin's people are on their way there. Hearing this, Baku tells Siyun to go rescue them, first while he will stay back alone to deal with the situation. Then you also tell Baekjin that the motorcycle earlier was not stolen by him. Do whatever you want with the people around me. You and I don't get along. Don't look for me and live as if we've never known each other. Baekjin immediately rushed to hit Baku, but he did not fight back, just left a farewell message and left. Over here, the two have found the list of illegal motorcycle trading by the Alliance, and were about to leave when the gang members also arrived. Gatak easily took down the gang members sent by Tepu, but the next one to fight seemed not as easy. Gatak beautifully turned and kicked that guy out. The remaining one immediately pulled out a weapon to continue the fight. As he was about to strike, Juntae came forward and knocked him down to save his friend. Despite the odds, the two quickly escaped from the encirclement of the enemy, but they did not let them off easily like that. While Siyun was on his way to rescue his friends, he received a call that Suho, his friend, was in critical condition. At a moment of indecision between following his heart or his head, a large truck was bearing down on him from behind. After a long chase, the two friends managed to escape by hiding under a vehicle. But it wasn't long before two thugs found and captured them. Gatak fought desperately, but was no match for them. Just as the thugs were regrouping, Baku arrived from a distance and easily took down three of them. As he was about to make his move, a motorcyclist came from behind and sneak attacked Baku, but that didn't save the one in front from danger. When the motorcycle guy came at him again, Baku concentrated his punch and delivered a blow that sent the attacker flying off the bike. Then Baku grabbed me with all his strength and wouldn't let go. Not until Dong Tae arrived and reported that Si-eun had an accident. Upon hearing the news, all three of them quickly went to the hospital to find their friend. The three of them looked into the intensive care unit and saw Si-eun lying unconscious with his mother crying beside him. While unconscious, the most beautiful images of the three new friends appeared in the protagonist's mind. In front of him was Beam-suk, the bully he had beaten up before. He rambled on, claiming that in the end, everyone would be hurt and destroyed in that way. Si-eun could only sit quietly and apologize to his mean-spirited friend at that moment. But perhaps that wasn't what he wanted to hear. When Baekjin saw a piece of the motorcycle transaction document torn off, he was in a terrible mood and ordered to capture all of them. Ba Si-yu went home to see his father, who cooked him a sumptuous meal. Today, his father even added more food to his plate, and then returned a large sum of money to his son. He hoped that his son would stay home and stop trying to act like an adult. He realized his mistakes after being lectured by a smart kid. Hearing this made Ba Si-yu cry uncontrollably, trembling. Juntae, holding the illegal transaction document, went to the police station to report it. But with the paper having no other information, they were completely unable to investigate. In fact, that police officer was the one colluding with that association. After that, Juntae was taken away and beaten severely. They showed him the transaction document being burned in front of him. Baekjin mentioned to Juntae that he should not mess with those friends of his outside. If he wasn't afraid, he wouldn't have overreacted like that. I even kept the images. Baekjin coldly ordered his men to deal with this troublesome guy. While he was being beaten, Song-ji appeared from above and came down. He maintained his usual demeanor, saying if they followed what those guys said, they'd spare his life. Hearing the defiant words of Jun, Tae made Song-ji think this guy was quite brave. From being a hated villain, he transformed into a hero, saving the weak at their most desperate moment. Gatak and Baku hurried to the scene upon hearing the news, only to find everything resolved thanks to Song-ji. As they were leaving, Baku paused to express his gratitude to Song-ji. He looked at Baku and realized that he and Si-eun were more deserving of the title of school champion. Baekjin, having heard of Song-ji's betrayal, was about to search with his followers when he found the big boss had arrived. All his followers were beaten up by this top leader. Baek-jin stepped up for his followers, promising to settle everything amicably. The leader liked his spirit, patted him on the shoulder a few times, and then left. After rescuing Jun-tae, the group headed to the hospital together to check on Si-yoon. Baku paused, thought about something, and then followed everyone. The next morning, with a loudspeaker in hand, Baku went alone to the school where Baek-jin was pretending to be a model student. Without beating around the bush, he directly declared war on him. The battle took place between Baku's school and the Dirty Alliance led by Baek-jin. The time and place were clear, so let's settle this once and for all. If Baku wins, the organization must be disbanded. The news that the group would collectively declare war on the alliance echoed throughout the school, announced on the school's loudspeaker, asking everyone to unite and quell the chaos, so that later, when we go out, we won't have to see those guys' faces to live. Baku silently stood in a corner of the tunnel, quietly changing "don't fight" into "march forward." After finishing, he went to the hospital to see his friend in the recovery room. Si-yoon's mother appeared, but instead of sending him away, she apologized for being harsh last time. Now, only Si-yoon's own will can bring her back to consciousness. In Si-yoon's mind, she's struggling with Baek-jin. He wants her to stay here to keep him company. But Si-yoon still has Suho out there, and there are friends waiting for him too. Right after, Si-yoon breaks free from Baek-jin's grasp and wakes up with his own will. As soon as he wakes up, Si-yoon wants to leave the bed to go to Suho. Baku immediately finds his friend and says that Suho is fine now. Calming down, Si-yoon slowly walks step by step to visit his friend who has luckily escaped death. When he goes outside, he sees his 3 friends sitting waiting outside. They're happy because Si-yoon has woken up. Jun-tae even cries and feels very happy to see Si-yoon again. Baku then tells his friend not to be such a crybaby, saying it's no big deal. You cried yesterday too. Oh, my eyes are dry from keeping them open for too long. All 4 of them go to the meeting point to settle everything. Baku reassures everyone that no matter how many there are, it doesn't matter. He alone can surround them all and teach them a lesson. Si-yoon wants to delay a few days to prepare thoroughly for this important battle. He asks for more information about who Baek-jin trusts most in the alliance. Right after that, the camera pans to Song-jae's face, and Si-yoon apologizes for everything that happened before. Si-yoon guesses that Song-jae is the one with the anonymous account for the illegal transactions of those bastards. When analyzing the pros and cons, Song-jae couldn't help but admire the madness of the person in front of him. After closing the deal with Song-jae, Si-yoon quickly went to find a corner to analyze the situation. The plan to divide them from within using Hyo-man's rumor-spreading tactic was perfect. Indeed, with just a few images and some swift keystrokes, he made the subordinates doubt their leader. Baek-jin arrived at a remote church in the morning, a place likely tied to many of his memories. According to the nun, he always used his donations and monthly supplies for the children here. At first, she didn't worry about the money, but gradually she felt uneasy and hoped he would stop sending more. The day of the final showdown had arrived, and the sky was gloomy with heavy rain. Everyone arrived at the meeting point with umbrellas, showing a lot of integrity. On the way, Si-yoon received a message from Song-jae. The original evidence of Baek-jin is in the Alliance office. Come and get it when no one's there. Whether friends or foes, all the umbrella holders are now allies against a common enemy. But no matter how well Hyo-man does, Jun-tae feels he can never forgive this scoundrel. Si-yoon went to the meeting point Song-jae messaged about to retrieve the original of the illicit transaction, and the protagonist couldn't imagine that this madman would turn traitor at this point. He immediately called people to ambush, causing Si-yoon to lose consciousness and then left. When they saw Si-yoon not appearing with the 3 guys, everyone sensed something was wrong, and Jun-tae hurriedly went to find him. Everyone gathered, and the officials from both families stood facing each other. The 3 guys wanted to take down the leader, leaving the rest for the others to handle. Right after that command, everyone rushed forward, attacking fiercely in the pouring rain. After watching from the sidelines for a while, Baek-jin stopped trying to look cool and dropped his umbrella to join the fight. Jun-tae, according to his own guess, had also arrived to rescue Si-yoon. After regaining consciousness, Si-yoon fought the fat guy as he staggered out. But this guy was quite persistent, so he charged at both of them again. To save Si-yoon, Jun-tae rushed in to grab the big guy and was slammed painfully to the floor. Si-yoon, taking advantage of the opening his friend created, easily took down the big guy. Jun-tae, due to his severe injuries, couldn't continue, and Ji-eun wanted to help him to the hospital. But Jun-tae insisted that Si-yoon go to the meeting point and stop them, saying he could handle this pain. Meanwhile, Gatak skillfully took down a big shot from the rival group. As for Hyo-man, He mostly joked around rather than focusing on fighting. Siyun hurriedly ran towards the location, while Baku and Baek-jin clashed in a fierce fight. After a few punches, Baku noticed his friend's fighting skills had significantly improved, and so the two of them started fighting fiercely, and after a few punches, Baku quickly gained the upper hand. But then came Baek-jin's bold counterattack. As the two exchanged blows evenly matched, neither conceding to the other. One would punch, and the other would punch back, continuing until Baku no longer had the strength to fight and fell to the ground. Baek-jin stood firm as a tripod after Baku's punches. He arrogantly shouted that from now on, the entire school will join the "if you can't beat him, join association." Gatak wanted to drag his frail body to fight, but Siyun arrived just in time for this final battle. You talk a good game, but are you scared to fight for real? The only person who's been talking this whole time is you. Provoked by those words, Baek-jin lost control and, hiding his injured arm, rushed forward, attacking furiously. Siyun quickly turned around, grabbed his leg, and hit it as if there was no tomorrow. Both of them fell to the ground, which seemed to hurt Baek-jin's pride. He smiled, and then unleashed a series of fatal blows on Siyun. Those powerful punches made him nearly collapse to the ground in pain. But somehow, the frail boy managed to stand up again and threw some clumsy punches. When Baek-jin grabbed his shirt, Siyun quickly pushed him to the ground and repeatedly hit his injured leg. Then he continued to punch him in the face, but Baek-jin blocked it and counterattacked painfully. Just as Siyun was groggily getting up, he kicked him to end the fight. Previously, Siyun had made a promise with Baku, hoping that he would stand up after the match and that he would do his best to prolong the fight. At the moment when it seemed that he had secured the victory, Baku stood up and knocked him down with powerful punches. By then, Baek-jin's limbs were numb from Siyun's earlier attacks. Ultimately, Baku apologized to his childhood friend, but he also hoped that Baek-jin would apologize to him. The battle officially ended at that moment, and everyone joyfully scattered to head home. Before leaving, Siyun turned back to look at the battered body of the defeated lying pitifully on the cold ground. Juntae also arrived to join up with his friends. The group got on a bus and then slept off their long, tumultuous day. The following days were peaceful days of youth, and everything finally came to an end. Hyoman also managed to become the student council president, looking very cool on the poster. As for Baek-jin, no one knew his whereabouts. Siyun kept wondering if he knew the correct answer to the advanced math problem he was solving. While enjoying the beautiful weather, Siyun received a call that lifted his spirits like never before. They hurried to the designated place, and finally, the person Siyun had been waiting for woke up. Suho looked back at his innocent friend and asked if he was doing well. Seeing the friends behind Siyun, Suho felt that everything was just perfect. After everything, Song Ji went to the old base to find Baek-jin, but the boss was still there looking for him. He suggested that Song Ji replace Baek-jin, but he wasn't interested in that. What intrigued him was Baek-jin's whereabouts. None of us ever thought that cruel reality would come true, yet it eventually did. Amidst the thick incense smoke and the sound of sobbing, the once familiar faces were soaked with tears, no longer able to maintain their toughness. In front of them was the cold coffin of someone who was once an enemy, a thorn in the group's side, but also a lost friend. Now Baek-jin, a name that once brought storms, now lay silent under the white shroud of life.